Hi students, in this video I'm going to get you started on the magazine project. Now when you open the template in InDesign, this is what you'll see. And just to reiterate from what you learned in the magazine design video, this is your page anywhere between the black lines, and if I press W, you'll see I see only the page. So this is the page where the black lines are. This black line down the middle is the center of the spread where the fold of the magazine would be. These purple and pink lines are the margin. So these purple and pink lines they're basically showing where it's safe to put anything. So what's happening when you make a magazine is the magazine is not printed on pages the size of a magazine. They're printed on pages the size of a table, and then those pages are folded together and cut apart. And so sometimes when the machine that cuts these pages apart is it's cutting like 1,000 pages at once. So sometimes it misses the mark. So the cut is supposed to be along this black line. Sometimes it's a little bit further inside the black line, which means if you put text or a really important part of a photograph right next to this black line, there's a chance it could actually get cut off. So it's okay to have a photograph or a color that extends to the edge of the page going to the black, but as far as your text, you want to keep it inside the purple and the pink. That's why the purple and pink are there. Now this red on the outside, this is the same thing. When that knife comes down and it cuts the pages apart, sometimes it's not perfect, it's not too far in, but it's too far away. So the knife might cut outside of where it's supposed to. So this is called the bleed. This means it's called a bleed because the idea is if this is your image, the image extends or bleeds out into this extra space. So if you have an image that is supposed to be the whole back of your photo, or I'm sorry, the whole background of your page, and I'll do an example real quick. Okay, these are drawings from preschool kids. So if you have an image that's supposed to take up the whole background, if you put your image between the pink and the purple, it won't take up the whole background. You'll have a white border, which you don't want. And I should tell you right now, if you have an image that's supposed to take up most of the background, why would you have a white border? What does the white border do? You probably always want to extend this to the edge. So that means you would pull it out to the black, right? Well, if we do that, and then we resize the image, now if we press W, it does take up the whole background, but remember, if that knife doesn't fall exactly on the black line, now we'll still have a little white space. So if you have an image that goes all the way to the edge of your page, you should actually extend it off the edge to the red lines, to the bleed. So now you can see it fills up between the red all around, and if I press W, I can see that it takes up the whole background. So that's what a bleed is, to make sure that if you have an image that goes all the way to the edge, if that page doesn't get cut correctly, it still goes to the edge. It doesn't have a weird white line or white spot or anything like that. So my first step in starting my magazine design, once I've opened the template and I understand the bleeds, is to set up a grid system. And you learned about grid systems in your textbook and also in the lecture for this week, but you'll want to go to Layout, Margins, and Columns, and you'll want to choose a number of columns. Now, how do you choose? Students ask me this all the time. How do I know if I should do 2? How do I know if I should do more than 2? If you do 2, your design will look like this. And that means when you lay out your text, it will go from this purple line to this purple line. So that means you're going to have pretty wide text. And that means your photos are going to have to go from here to here, or from here to here. So everything that you put in your design is a square. I'm sorry, not a square, but a rectangle. And when you use guides, everything on your page should touch a guide on the left and touch a guide on the right. So if I have a photo and then I have body copy, I don't have a lot of choices. It can either be this big or it can be this big. Now for some magazines that works well, but for others that's not enough variety. So if you want more variety than that, let's go to Margins and Columns and let's give it something like 6. Okay. So now I can have photos that are this big, or I can have photos that are this big, or I could even take a photo and make it go all the way across. So I have a lot more variety now. in how I can place things on this page. Every photo and text box needs to touch a guide on the left and the right. That's how you'll make sure everything is aligned and proportioned well. So I'm going to fill this with some placeholder text. So if this is my body copy, I probably, let's say, want to make it, let's do this, and I want it to be, this line length is too long. Don't forget line length. So I'm going to make this 3 columns. Now this is where there's a lot of confusion with students. They want to know, you know what, I'm going to zoom in so you can see this better. They want to know, how do I put text on these guides? Well, the text box touches a guide on the left and the right, but I can then break it up further into other numbers of columns. So the grid that you're using is helping you arrange the elements, but within that arrangement you can break the text up into other sizes. So then I can make this a photo. Maybe I want my photo to take up the whole top, and then I want some kind of headline here across the middle. See how I'm lining it up on the left and right? Let's fill this in with the colors so you can see it. So see how this guide system is helping me keep everything straight and proportioned? Everything lines up on the left. This is exactly centered over this. So how many guides you choose is really up to you. The fewer you have, the fewer options you have for photo sizes. But then again, once you start to have a lot, it starts to become difficult to see. So I have a magazine that I designed that uses 12 columns, and it's a lot. It's kind of visually confusing, but I have lots of choices here. Now I can make this skinnier. I could do something like put another photo down here. So this guide system, grid guide and guide system, helps me arrange the elements so that they're nice and lined up and proportional. So your first step when you open this template is to figure out how many guides are you going to use. And if you mess around with it and you don't like the number you've chosen, you can always change it.